even blood work, like Paige would need to be sedated, which probably would be a needle, so. Yeah. But I'm not ruling out that she could have something like that. I'm really not. I just personally didn't feel that it had anything to do with her developmental delays. She has progressed great. You know, I mean, she was just fine.
Yeah, I've seen the difference in her. I mean,
right, and she's a totally different kid. And
I don't see anything, and that's the thing. I mean, she seems like a...
But I do believe she eats really healthy. Like, I feed my kids, you know, chicken, fish, meat. They have 5 fruits and vegetables a day. They drink water and milk, no soda. No, I don't oversweet them. And I do think, that's why I'm saying I don't think it's hocus pocus, this diet. I just don't think it worked for Paige. But I do believe because she eats well, she's not sluggish, she's not overweight, you know, she can concentrate, you know, she gets plenty of sleep. There's a lot of things that go into developmental. You know, Steve and I aren't fighting or divorced or all the, there's a lot of things that she doesn't have in her life that could mess her up. And food is probably one of them, you know, you are what you eat, so.
All right, so I think we pretty much have everything. I guess this one last question. What do you think, personally, is the reason that so many kids nowadays are, you know, being diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders? Do you think that it has, that it's related to food, or?
You know, it's so funny, because my mother-in-law and I have had this conversation. We're like, I get so back and forth on this, and I mean, I have thought about it, I have read about it, I have talked about it. When I did this whole thing, I really did start thinking, well, what has changed in the last 20 years? Processed foods. We don't eat fresh food anymore. Even if you do have apples, half the time they're freeze-dried, or, you know, they put, you know, citric acid on them, and you buy them in a bag that someone else cut up, because we're all about convenience foods. I'm not knocking, I'm not judging, just saying.
Sure.
But I do also think that we're more aware of it. And why is it that in the state of New Jersey we have way more? Is it because we have power plants? Is it because we have,
what is it, 1 in every 150?
160 or something, and even more for
Scary.
boys. But why in, like, I don't know, Alabama, don't they? Well, if you look where all the doctors are, they don't have them down there. And the education system isn't what it is. I took Paige to developmental ped at 18 months. They did just a well check. And they looked at her and they're like, you need to have her tested. Her eye contact's not good. At 18 months. Yeah. They were putting up a red flag. That is fantastic. That's what you want, because by 22 months, this kid had therapy coming into the house.
You were working on it.
We were on her. I was like, I'm not working. I'm taking care of this kid. We are in it to win it. Let's go. If you don't have a good doctor that catches it early and gets them, I really think it's about diagnosis, meaning 20 years ago they would have just said, she's slow. Okay? I don't think that autism is, and maybe I'm wrong again, I hate to say it, maybe it is happening more often, but I also think people know about it more. Last night, I was at a dinner, everyone was over last night, and 6 or 5 girls, every one of us, our child has a label. At least one kid had a label.
Really?
One has anxiety issues, one has, what's the one everyone has? ADHD. One has sensory integration, processing something or other, and 2 of us PDD-NOS. 100% labeled children. So can I tell you something? That every child, they're not just brats anymore.
There's an actual reason
There's
for
an actual reason for their brattiness. You know, because that's what they would say. They're like, well, she's not bad. She just has sensory issues. I'm like, meaning she likes to be loud? I'm like, she's being bad. Like, it would make me mad, because I'm like, she's no better than any other kid. But there were some things on the page. I get that. But we definitely were like, it's not an excuse for bad behavior. And, we didn't, you know, we tried. But some people, at my church and different places, people have full-blown autism. There's nothing you can do with those kids. I mean, I'm not saying nothing, but what we did for Paige would not have worked for him. We were lucky. Paige was a much milder case. We caught it early. And girls, I do think girls they're more verbal. I don't know. I don't think, maybe if she was a boy, she would have had full-blown autism. I don't know if that has something. Why so many more boys?
But yeah, that was another.
I don't know, but I would say I think there's probably an environmental factor. I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do with our food, but is it a pesticide? Is it radiation? Is it something like that?
Right.
My guess would be 50% that and 50% just education, meaning more doctors. And people now will say to you, I'll look at kids, I'll babysit kids and be like, you should have that kid checked out, because I nanny. And you know how many parents I told them, like, you need to get this kid checked out. I mean, you just feel like now I can see, and they seem to glow in the dark, you know.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we already have that going. I'm like, oh, that's good. Because you can tell. And they just don't look at it. So it's really sad. I really feel bad for people that are just starting to go through it. I have so many friends, and I just think, I can't tell you it'll be okay because I don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
You'll get through it. Somehow you live.
That's the thing, but not everybody's on it like you, you know.
I got so lucky that this doctor, I mean, and I remember saying to him, what do you mean? She's not looking at me. They're like, she doesn't have, and then I started noticing, they're like, how many words does she have? I'm like, none. But she's one. They're like, and I'm like, that's right. Allie had so many words at 15 months. They're like, look, we're not going to hit the panic button yet, but just have her evaluated by early intervention. They came out and they were like, oh, yeah. They were even more.
No, what kind of doctor was this, the specialist?
No, that was just a pediatrician.
Oh, okay.
A regular pediatrician just did a thorough exam, and they talked to them. They say, can you, and Paige didn't babble, nothing. She hit none of the milestones for those kinds of, only thing she hit the milestones for were physical. She had no good eye contact. She wasn't social. She didn't even bother with her sister.
Right.
I just thought they didn't fight because I was a wonderful parent. I'm like, they're like, no, they should be fighting.
Well, you are too.
Yeah, there you go. So then by 22 months, she was in early intervention. And then at 3, the county lets you go at 3. They said, in New Jersey, you only go with the county till they come to your house till they're 3. Then at 3, they brought some special ed preschools. And the one in Marlton's great. So she did that for 2 years. And then she moved on to the special ed kindergarten. And now she's in the first year in a mainstream.
Is she?
It is, but it's inclusion, which means they have an extra teacher and an extra aide for her.
Right.
So she's got a lot of
But
extra
still,
help.
that's just as much.
But they're like, look, she's borderline, like, doing so well that we want her with quote-unquote typical,
normal.
they say.
Yeah.
They call them neurotypical NC
Right.
kids. They'll ask me, oh, is your other daughter NC? I'm like, what's NC? Neurotypical. I'm like, yeah, you normal? Oh, yeah, she's NC. Because they got to label
Paige is
everybody.
normal, but yes.
So now Paige is in with the neurotypical kids because they said they'll lift her up.
Right.
Rather than, you know, and she doesn't have behavioral problems. She can sit still. She is high-risk ADHD, but they haven't medicated her or anything. Yeah, which is very common with autistic kids because they don't focus. Paige's biggest problem is, like, she's as sweet as a honeybee, but she's gone. Paige, what did I just tell you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Her attention span is a 2-year-old, but they're really just hoping it's a developmental delay. She's not a typical learner. She can't just sit in the classroom for 6 hours. She needs to be pulled out, and the school district is great. They say,
Work with her.
then we'll work with her. She's not being bad. We've just lost her. She will just sit there quietly and not hear a word.
And not listen to anything.
And she'll never